Today started like a completely normal day, but then my giant white fluffy cat Snowball decided he was going to fix my entire life in one morning. Snowball is not a regular cat. He is huge. He looks like a walking cloud, and he thinks he is the boss of the house. And honestly, he kind of is. I was still half asleep when Snowball pulled my blanket off and stared directly into my soul. I tried to hide, but he gently slapped my cheek with his paw like he was saying, "Wake up, human, we have a schedule." I sat up and asked, "What schedule?" And Snowball just sighed like a stressed manager. I walked to the kitchen and Snowball followed me with his slow, heavy steps. I made coffee, but he pushed the mug away with his head. Then he jumped onto the counter and pressed a button on my smart speaker. It started playing motivational workout music. I froze. Snowball looked at me like, "Come on, girl, it is time to upgrade your life." So Snowball forced me to do morning stretches. Every time I stopped, he meowed loudly. Then he dragged my shoes to me and stared until I put them on. I said, "Snowball, I am not going jogging this early." But he bumped his head against the door and meowed again. I swear he said, "Let us go." So we walked outside and this giant fluffy cat strutted down the street like it was his neighborhood. People stared. A guy watering his lawn said, "Hey, is that a cat or a small polar bear?" I said, "Yes, both." Even dogs were confused. One barked and Snowball just looked at him with slow disappointment. The walk Snowball led me back inside and pushed me toward the bathroom. He sat at the door like a security guard. I guess he wanted me to shower because, honestly, I did look like a mess. When I was done, he inspected me like a fashion expert and even tapped my jeans with his paw like he approved. Then he ran to my laptop, jumped on the keyboard, and somehow opened an email draft. The screen said, "Apply for new job today." I froze again. Snowball slowly turned his head and stared at me like, "See, I know everything." I told him he is just a cat, but honestly, I think he might be smarter than me. I sat down, and Snowball curled behind me like a fluffy support pillow. I started typing my resume, and every time I stopped for too long, he gently tapped my arm. At this point, I fully accepted that Snowball had taken control of my life. Later, he dragged my phone to me. On the screen was a reminder I had set months ago. It said, "Call Mom." I laughed and said, "Wow, Snowball, you are really doing everything today, huh?" Snowball meowed softly and sat beside me like, "Do the right thing, human." So I called my mom and she said, "Are you okay? Why are you calling this early?" And I said, "My cat told me to fix my life today. She said good." Listen to him. Then Snowball climbed into my lap and pressed his forehead against mine. It felt like he was saying, "You are doing great. I believe in you." A giant white fluffy cloud giving me emotional support. By afternoon, Snowball jumped on the couch and tapped the TV remote. It opened a cooking tutorial. I said, "Snowball, I cannot cook." He meowed loudly like, "Girl, you need real food." So we cooked the simplest pasta dish ever. He supervised the whole time. When I finally tasted it, Snowball sat proudly like, "Yes, this is the beginning of your improvement arc." At sunset, Snowball and I sat near the window. He watched the cars, the lights, the people. Then he looked up at me with those big, round eyes filled with wisdom and love. I realized he was not trying to fix my life because it was broken. He was trying to remind me that life can be simple, gentle, and funny if I just keep moving one small step at a time. Before bed, Snowball jumped onto my chest and purred so loudly it felt like a massage. I whispered, "Thank you, Snowball. You are the best part of my life." And he slowly blinked, like he agreed. So yeah, today my giant white fluffy cat decided to become my life coach. And honestly, it worked. I feel lighter, happier, and maybe a little stronger. And Snowball. He is asleep right now, like he just finished the most important job in the world. Tomorrow, he will probably try to teach me something new. And I think I am ready.